Simmers, welcome back to the channel. So it's the fourth episode in our renovation series. In this series, we are tailoring each home to the actual Sims who live there, their jobs, their vibes, their favorite colors, all of it. And today, we've got a very sweet household lined up, the Elderberry family. We've got Ekram and Eleanor, a retired couple who've basically lived in the same Britechester neighborhood forever, and their grandson, Rohan, who's a high school student getting ready for college life. As always, I sat down with the household before we started, asked questions like, what's your favorite color? What kind of decor makes you happy? You know, the essentials. And based on that, we came up with a whole new look that hopefully fits their personalities. Before we bring in the bulldozer, let's take a little tour of the original house. So this house is big. It sits in this absolutely beautiful area of Britechester, but the house itself, well, it's very boxy, very plain. Inside, you walk straight into a staircase. This staircase situation, it's got no railing and it's completely boxed in by walls, which, yeah, it's not the most elegant look. Then there's a dining and living area, and behind that, the kitchen, and there's a bathroom tucked behind the stairs. Heading upstairs, the hallway layout on the second floor is a bit odd. We'll definitely be fixing that. Up here, we've got the main bedroom and a bathroom that connects directly to it. I believe it belongs to Ekram and Eleanor. And then there's a little study space. And on the top floor, there are two more rooms and another bathroom. One of them is clearly a storage room. There were random clutter and a bunch of model trains scattered around. Kinda charming. The other room seems to be Rohan's bedroom. He's got posters that totally clash with the rest of the house. So I'm guessing he brought that with him. Overall, there's just way too much space here. Too many bedrooms, too many bathrooms, and honestly, I don't think Ekram and Eleanor need to be climbing up to the third floor ever. While I was going through the house, I started saving a few things to the family inventory. Some of the paintings were lovely, so I held onto those. I also grabbed the model trains and ships I found scattered around. They felt like part of a family collection. And there was the old teddy bear in the attic that I just couldn't throw away. So yeah, we've taken stock, saved the memories, and now it's time to give this place a fresh start. First things first, goodbye third floor. It just didn't make sense for this family. I mean, Ekram and Eleanor are retired. Do we really want to send them hiking up to full flights of stairs every day? No. So we're chopping it down to 2 floors. But I did want to keep the original house's tall, narrow feel. There's something kind of iconic about it. So I kept the first floor with medium height walls to preserve that vertical vibe, and dropped the second floor to short height walls. I don't love super high ceilings in Sims builds anyway. They always feel a bit unrealistic to me. Speaking of realism, I also decided to skip fencing in the yard. This lot is only 20 by 15, pretty tight, and fencing it off just made everything feel smaller. Besides, the lot already sits on a raised platform with these beautiful old stone fences around it, so no need to overdo it. Once the fences were gone and the third floor was erased from existence, I could really start shaping the new structure. And that means deciding on the floor plan too, because the exterior and interior should work together, right? I won't go into all the layout details just yet. We'll cover that in the next part. But just to give you the big picture, we are going with 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, much simpler. And of course, I was thinking about The Sims the whole time. Eleanor told me she loves blue, plays the violin, and is really into storybook style decor. Her style is a mix of polished and outdoorsy, which I find super charming. Ikram didn't mention any favorite styles or colors, but that just means I get to focus on comfort and practicality for him. Rohan also loves blue, and he's into vintage decor and painting. Very artsy teen energy. To reflect their personalities, I decided to keep some of the original color scheme on the outside. There was this kind of pinkish beige tone paired with white stone walls. It felt warm, a little old-fashioned, and honestly pretty cute. So I stuck with that and leaned into a more charming, grandmother-friendly look overall. For the windows, I used mostly base game and Discover University ones. They are clean, classic, and fit the lot's Britechester vibe. On the ground floor, facing the backyard, I added a big glass window from Romantic Garden Stuff, I think. I've never used it before, but it actually works so well here. That area is going to be the dining room, opening out onto a little terrace, perfect for morning tea. Oh, and yes, I added a chimney, but there's no fireplace inside on that wall. It's a little odd, but let's just say it's an old house. Maybe there used to be a fireplace there once upon a time. The interior is going to reflect Eleanor and Rohan's love for blue, and we are keeping things sweet and cozy. Definitely leaning into that storybook decor charm. And finally, off camera, I went ahead and gave the landscaping a quick polish. Nothing fancy, just enough to make it feel lived in. So let's talk floor plan while I'm choosing wallpapers and floorings. On the first floor, you enter into a small hallway, and on your right, you've got the living room, kitchen, and then facing the backyard, we have the dining room. There's also a bathroom on the first floor. Upstairs, we've got Rohan's bedroom, the main bedroom, and finally a second bathroom. Okay, wallpapers decisions still pending, but layout-wise, I think we're in a good spot. Like 3 people, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms feels like a good balance. Alright, let's jump into the interior and we're starting with the kitchen. I wanted to keep the color scheme soft and fresh, so we are going with a mix of blue, gray, and white. Kind of calm and cheerful at the same time. which I think really suits the vibe of this house and also Eleanor's taste. Now, I almost used my usual go-to counters, you know the ones. I basically use them in every build without thinking, but I stopped myself this time. Instead, I'm using some pieces from Forend, and honestly, they look really clean and classic in here. I'm liking it. And I also picked some kitchen clutters, like a kettle, because they must love to drink tea. And I added some clutters from For Rent and Cottage Living. I think they are super cute. The layout is a simple L shape, nothing fancy, but super functional. It leaves us with a nice open corner, and I decided to put a small table there, just a little two-seater. Yeah, the one from Cottage Living. Perfect for a quick breakfast, a midnight snack, or, those slightly awkward teenager grandparent chats over cereal or something. The overall feel is homey and uncluttered, nothing too bold, just a space that feels easy to be in. Alright, kitchen done. Let's move on to the dining room, which sits right at the back of the house. And let me tell you, this room gets amazing natural light thanks to the big windows that face the backyard. It just feels so open and airy in here. I use the white stone wall from the cottage living. For furniture, I went with a six-seater dining table and paired it with these really sweet blue wooden chairs. It's a simple combo, but I think it works perfectly for this family. Cozy, but not too formal. On the wall, I added a little cabinet, and then for some personality, there's a cute bird motif and a few decorative plates. This room also opens out onto the terrace, which I tried to make a nice extension of the living space. I added a bunch of potted plants out there because I kind of get the sense that Akram and Eleanor enjoy gardening. And for Rohan, I added an easel outside. It felt right. He's into painting, and I imagined him standing out there on a sunny afternoon working on a piece while the birds are chirping. I thought about putting a full dining set out there too, but honestly, the indoor dining room is right there. So instead, I placed a sofa set in a coffee table. More chill, more conversation friendly. The lawn beyond the terrace is super green and open. It just feels peaceful. So now the indoor and outdoor dining area done. Next up, the living room. Alright, back inside. I started by changing part of the wall to that beautiful white brick from cottage living. It kind of gives the impression that this is an older home, and maybe some of the original walls are still there. I like that, a little bit of history showing. Against that stone brick wall, I placed a fireplace. Because let's be honest, what's a cozy living room without one? Next to it, there's a bookshelf and this lovely pendulum clock, the family already owned. I thought it added just the right amount of traditional charm, like something that's been taken away in the background for decades. In the corner, I added a cute blue shelf from high school years, and that's where I displayed some of the little model ships and cars we saved earlier. Not sure whose collection this is, maybe Ekram's or Rohan's childhood leftovers, or Eleanor just thought they were adorable and never threw them out. For the seating, I went with this really soft pale blue sofa set from Cats and Dogs. It just fit the room so well. Nothing too flashy, just comfy and sweet. By one of the windows, I put down a console table to display a few more collectibles because clearly this family's got a few stories hidden in those little models. And by the other window, I added a chess set. Thought it might come in handy when Rohan starts university. Alright, let's take a little walk through the hallways, starting from the entrance. So, right as you walk in, I wanted to make sure it felt like a home. I added a doormat, a coat rack, an umbrella stand, and a mirror, the usual entryway stuff. But it really pulls the space together. Now, Ekram has the angling ace aspiration, so just for him, I added a little fishbowl here. Like maybe he has one old goldfish he's super attached to. Then, heading down the hall toward the dining room, I turned one wall into a gallery wall, using the paintings and family photos from the original house. I thought, it's nice to keep some history in the new design. I also added console table along the wall, practical but also decorative. Alright, hallways are looking lovely. Now upstairs, I added a small linen shelf, which is my favorite. It just gives the hallway cozy, tucked away feeling. And someone in this house is definitely organized. And I put a super cute blue checkered armchair, like maybe Eleanor sometimes sits there with a book. Now the bathrooms. There are two in total, one downstairs and one upstairs. Normally I go for tiled floors and walls in bathrooms, but this time I went with wood flooring and regular wallpaper instead, because I feel like that gives more of an older home kind of vibe. For the first floor, I actually reused the light blue classic wallpaper that was in the original house. I also added a shower. Then for the upstairs, I used more or less the same layout and items, but instead of a shower, I went with a bathtub. In the wallpaper here, it's from a vintage style set, inspired by Rohan's preferences. It has these lovely little bluebirds and floral prints, super sweet, and it adds just a touch of whimsy to the space. It's funny how a small room like this can still feel so personal, isn't it? Alright, next up is the team bedroom, Rohan's space. I imagine this room probably used to belong to Ekram and Eleanor's child, Rohan's parent. Maybe it was once a kid's room, then got left behind when their child grew up, moved out, got married, and eventually their own son, Rohan, came here to live as he prepares for university. So I wanted to keep that childlike feeling in the room somehow, like a gentle echo of the past. I went with this fresh and adorable blue striped wallpaper. It adds a sweet, youthful vibe that still feels fitting for a teen. The bed was an easy pick. I used that blue bed from Cats and Dogs, the one with what looks like a little Van Gogh painting on it. It's a strong look. I usually don't use it, honestly, but for this house, with its soft blue color palette, and considering Rohan's love for painting, it just made perfect sense. Right above the bed is that poster. The one we saw earlier that doesn't quite match the rest of the house. At the foot of the bed, I placed some stacked suitcases because Rohan's just arrived. In the corner, I added a simple study desk, and finally, there's a teddy bear in the room. Not Rohan's, of course, he's too old for that. But maybe it belonged to his parent when they were a child, and it just always been here. Alright, we've made it to the last room, the primary bedroom. I changed the wallpaper to this adorable pale blue pattern with tiny flowers. On the window side wall, I used white stone wallpaper just to keep that old house feel. The bed, I think it's from Horse Ranch, has this beautiful gentle blue color that I absolutely love. Then I added a bookshelf, a dresser, and a full-length mirror to round things out. On the wall, I placed some fishing-themed decorations for Akram. There's a little collections of fishing lures and a tiny fish plate as well. I imagine this couple loves spending time outdoors, maybe taking walks by the canal or working in the garden. And I put my favorite feather wall art from Cats and Dogs. I placed 3 of them side by side, and I think they look really lovely here. And that's it for today's renovation. Thanks so much for watching. Please feel free to leave a comment. Up next, I'll be showing some before and after screenshots, so stick around and enjoy the transformation. Bye!